Hello and welcome back to the Project Hercules Diaries. Spring is here. Fantastic. But although I'm sitting in the garden and it's lovely this morning, there's things to be done. So let's pop in the garage and see what's what. Here we are in the garage and we've taken the tank off the bike just to give us a bit of easier access to the starter motor. So one of the things that Bob's been working hard on is this plate here. It's been quite a difficult thing to mark out, to make in cardboard and then remake in steel because there's no parallel faces on it. So it was quite difficult to hold in the forge ore, and these holes are very accurately drilled, so there's no slop in any of it at all. Really good job by Bob as usual. So that's all been bolted up, although we still need to make some spaces for in here. That's a job for the afternoon, and it can be locked up solid. Then it comes to the gear itself, turning our attention to that. So we've locked the gear that comes out of the front of the starter motor in its outermost position, so that gives us the sort of engagement that we've got at the moment. This gear needs to go further back that way, and we'll achieve that by just taking a bit off the bolt there. Where's my finger gone? There it is. And the bolt on the back as well. There's a bolt round here that you can't see. Yeah, this one. So we just take the end off that as well, and that will allow it to go all the way back onto the shoulder on the end of the shaft here. Then we can see how much, what thickness of gear we need, but it probably only needs to be about 10 mil thick, this gear. So the rest of it is waste material, which is okay because it started at 5.5 kilograms, and we don't want to have that much weight on the bike. So when that's down to about 10 mil, we'll make a call whether we try and saw this in half and end up with 2 gears, or whether we just turn it off. But whatever we do though, we are going to leave a boss on this front of the gear, because the sprocket that drives the chain here at the moment fits onto the Dynastart shaft with a keyway, and we were going to make this a heavy press fit onto here. But thinking about it, it's quite a bit of work, and there's still a danger that it might slip. So what we plan to do is to turn the boss off here, or just buy a new sprocket without a boss on, and then turn, as we take the material off here, we'll leave a boss on the front of there, and then by drilling 3 holes in the gear itself, we can just bolt the sprocket to it. And then when the sprocket needs to be replaced later on, when the teeth get worn, we don't need to do any machining or buy a new gear or anything like that. We just unbolt the sprocket and bolt on the new one. We'll machine it so that the 24 teeth and the 19 teeth sprocket fit on here, and that should look quite nice. And then the final job, once we've wasted it down and it's thin enough with a boss on, before we try starting it, I suppose, would be to put 6 nice big holes around the circumference, so it lightens it even further. The end result will be that is the starter motor and that is the dynamo. If we need a little bit more starting power, we can take this terminal here and put a bridging wire to this terminal here, and that'll give us another 900 watts of starting power, but hopefully we don't need it. So that's what we're doing next. We're working around this gear and making sure everything lines up after we've made the spaces. But in parallel to Bob's activity, I've been working on the other side on the foot peg and the foot peg mounting. Doesn't that look a lot neater than a piece of copper bar just wedged through the hole? That's the final solution. I just need to do the foot pedal for the rear brake and master cylinder and all that kind of stuff, and we'll duplicate that on this side of the bike, although at this point I'm starting to think I might just do a conventional brake setup, rear brake on the right foot and front brake on the handlebars. That will probably be a lot easier, but the jury's still out on that, so there's a fair bit of machining to do to get the left hand foot peg in place. Once I've got a pair of foot pegs, I can then double check the clearance on my shins against the carburetor. That may have been resolved because where the new foot peg mounts off that bolt there is slightly lower and further forward than when the copper bar was through that hole there. Probably won't make that much difference, but you never know. So that's what we're on, and then we'll refit the tank and then we'll crack on. That's about it for this weekend in terms of updates, unless we get a lot further this afternoon, but there's a few other things happening as well. I did have a friend ask me something that's made me rather worried about the whole viability of everything, but I'm not going to spend too much time thinking about it just now. I'll perhaps pick that up maybe on Monday. But otherwise, we're all good here. Spring is in the air, so enjoy the great weather if you're in the UK. Wash the bikes if they need a wash, give them a service, and get out riding, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. As usual, thank you for watching. More updates will follow.